Hi everyone, it's Tatyana from Tatyana's Everyday Food. Just wanted to take the time and wish everybody a very happy New Year's and hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. For the month of January, I wanted to do a special breakfast and brunch mini series. So I'll be sharing some of my favorite breakfast recipes with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little series. Today we'll be making really delicious and moist cinnamon rolls. This is a perfect recipe if you're having a group of friends over for brunch, and it's really easy to make. You really can't mess it up. I wanted to give out a shout out to my sister Nina. Thank you so much for sharing this super delicious and super easy recipe with me. I'm really proud of her. She's actually in baking school right now at a culinary institute, and so I'm looking forward to her being an awesome baker. So let's get started on our cinnamon rolls. So for our first step, we need to prepare our yeast base. So I have 1 cup of whole milk that I've heated, so it's lukewarm, it's not too hot. I'm gonna pour it into my bowl. And then we're gonna add 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. So the sugar acts like a food for the yeast. So we need to add it in with the milk so the yeast dissolves quickly. I'm gonna add that in there. We're gonna give this a whisk. And then we're gonna add 2½ teaspoons of dry yeast. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna sprinkle it over the top, and we're gonna let this stand for about 10 minutes. We want that yeast to dissolve and puff up a little bit. Once our yeast is dissolved, we can add the remaining ingredients. So we're gonna add 2 large eggs, and I've brought these up to room temperature. We're gonna add a teaspoon of salt, and we're also gonna add 1/3 cup of melted butter. Today we'll be using 4 cups of bread flour, and bread flour is gonna make these cinnamon rolls extra soft. So I'm gonna start by adding a couple large scoops at a time. Just start by whisking the flour in, and then we'll start using our hands and make a soft dough. My dough is coming together really nicely, and I've added about 3½ cups. I'm gonna sprinkle the remaining on my work surface. We're gonna turn out the dough onto my work surface, just like this. And now we're just gonna knead the rest of the flour in by hand to form a really soft but not sticky dough. So just sprinkle the remaining flour over the top and just work everything in with your hands. You wanna knead the dough just for a few minutes until it's not sticky anymore and it comes together nicely. For our next step, we need to let the dough proof. So I greased a large bowl. I'm gonna place my dough into the bowl. I'm gonna cover it with a clean kitchen towel, and I'm gonna tuck it away in a warm corner of my kitchen away from any drafts, and this needs to proof for about 45 minutes until it's doubled in size. Today my dough proofed for a little bit over an hour, and you can see how it's doubled in size. Now we're just gonna punch it down. I'm gonna flour my work surface just a little bit, and we're gonna turn out our dough. And now we're gonna roll it out into our rectangle shape. So just spread it over just a little bit. I'm gonna take my rolling pin, we're gonna flour it just a little bit, and we're gonna roll our dough out into a nice large rectangle. For our next step, we're gonna spread 1/3 cup of butter, and I've softened it at room temperature. Just spread it all the way across evenly. So you can either use a flat spatula, or I just like to use my fingers. Just work it into the dough, and this is gonna help all that sugar and cinnamon stick to the dough. For my filling, I'm using 1 cup of packed brown sugar, 2½ tablespoons of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. So we're gonna sprinkle this over the top. And you wanna just spread this evenly all over the surface of the dough. I'm just gonna use my spoon and work it into the dough, into the butter. I'm gonna start at one end, and we just need to gently roll this into one large log. And now the trick to cutting our cinnamon rolls. So we're actually gonna be using some unflavored, unscented dental floss. We're gonna run it underneath the dough, and I actually like to start at the middle. So we're gonna just place it all the way underneath here. And all you have to do is just pull the dental floss like this, and you're gonna have a nice even cut. Boom. And so we're gonna work with the 2 halves. I like pretty thick cinnamon rolls, so I'm gonna cut these into about 1 1/2, 1 inch thick pieces. As you're cutting your cinnamon rolls, you can also start placing them into a prepared pan. So this is a 13 by 9 inch pan. I've lined it with some parchment paper and sprayed it with some non-stick spray. That's gonna make removing the cinnamon rolls super easy. So what we're gonna do is just once you cut the cinnamon rolls, carefully lift them off your countertop and just place them into your pan. I'm gonna press my cinnamon rolls down just a little bit, get them shaped inside of the pan, and now these need to proof again. So I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and meanwhile I'm gonna cover this pan with a clean kitchen towel, and you wanna keep them close to the oven so that they proof a little bit quicker. They should double up in size. It'll be about 45 minutes. My cinnamon rolls have doubled in size, and I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. We're gonna bake these for about 10 minutes first, and then we'll take them out. After 10 minutes, we're gonna take our cinnamon rolls out of the oven. We're gonna pour a couple tablespoons of heavy cream over each one, and this is gonna make our cinnamon rolls super soft. So just pour gently over each roll, and then we're gonna pop these back into the oven, and they need to finish baking until they're golden brown on top. While we're waiting for our cinnamon rolls to finish baking, we could start working on our frosting. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese that I've softened to room temperature. We're gonna add 1/4 cup of butter, also softened. And then to this, we're gonna add 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and it's really just a pinch for a little bit of flavor. And then we're also gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we're gonna add just a little bit of half and half. My mixture is pretty smooth now. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit more half and half. I want it to be a little bit thinner. And we're gonna start adding our powdered sugar. So I'm gonna add a little bit at a time. And then just stir it all together. If you want your frosting to be a little bit thinner, you can add more half and half. If you want it to be thicker, just add less. And I'm gonna take a whisk and really whisk that mixture together until it's nice and smooth. You don't want any clumps in there. I just took my cinnamon rolls out of the oven and they smell amazing. Cannot wait to try these. But first, we're gonna spread our icing over the top of the rolls while they're still hot. So I'm gonna take a spatula and just gently spread it all over the rolls. And you wanna do this while it's hot. It's gonna seep into all the crevices and you're gonna have delicious, creamy cinnamon rolls. Alternatively, you could take this frosting and place it into like a disposable pastry bag or a Ziploc bag, and you can just pipe the frosting onto each roll when you're serving it. So you might have a little bit of extra after spreading it, and you could do just that. And now it's time to give our cinnamon rolls a try, and I waited for a couple hours. My house smells so good. I can't wait to have some of this. I like them with a lot of that cream cheese frosting. So I'm gonna a little bit of coffee. These are so good, like absolutely delicious. They melt in your mouth, that soft, gooey dough, that cinnamon sugar, and that cream cheese frosting on here is so delicious. This is the perfect breakfast food. It takes a couple hours to make, but if you're having a brunch with some of your family and friends, it's the perfect dish to make. They're gonna walk into your house and they're just gonna wanna eat this whole tray of cinnamon rolls. They're that good. And adding that heavy cream on top makes the dough really, really soft. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of my January breakfast and brunch recipe ideas. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. You'll get updates every time I post new videos, and follow me on Instagram and Facebook where I post all my recipes as well.